Welcome everyone to Follow the Light Music Review. My name is John DeLaurentis, and this is just a brief intro video to the channel. Going to be a lot of content coming out in 2025, but I wanted to get a intro video starting this channel here. I'm recording this actually on the very last day of 2024. And what is this channel going to be about? Well, it's going to be a channel that discusses Christian music, primarily in the fields of pop, rock, metal, and some other genres as well. And I'm going to be focusing on doing spotlights on artists, legacy artists like Mylon Lefevre, Phil Keaggy. I'm also going to spotlight on some of the great music that's coming out on independent labels that's being released. Some great music still coming out. And I'm going to focus on also looking at discographies and reviews of particular albums when they come out, giving you my thoughts upon that, and also, hoping that you will join in a discussion in the comments under the videos as well, because I'd like to hear from you what you feel about these things. Because when it comes to music, it's all subjective. People have different likes and dislikes. You might like something that I don't, and I might like something that you don't like. What I'm going to be discussing on the channel is my opinion, but music is one of those things that we all have our likes and dislikes, and so I invite you to give feedback and to join in on the discussion on what you feel is the things that you enjoy. And you can also give me suggestions of what artists you'd like to see me cover on the channel. Where am I in terms of Christian music? Who am I? Well, currently I'm working as a copy editor for 3 record labels: Girder Music, Retroactive Records, and Roxx Productions. And these are labels that focus on a lot of reissues of great classic music. Music that's been out of print for years, and they reissue it on CD and vinyl. And yes, those physical formats are coming back. Not only just vinyl, but CDs is making a comeback. The people are realizing they want a physical product in their hand, not necessarily just only streaming. So these labels, I would call all 3 of them the Rhino records of Christian music. And what I mean by that is they put out quality product, whether it's reissues or whether it's new music they're coming out with, quality remastering or mastering, quality booklets, and a lot of great releases. And I'm going to be doing a video, my first video besides this one that's going to be recorded in 2024 is going to be my favorite albums of 2024, what I think are the top 10 best albums for me for 2024. So tune into that video as well. So that is what I'm currently doing, and you may have seen some of my work. I've done some writing as well in some of the releases from these labels. I did the history of Petra in the Petra 50 box set. I did the history of Ken Tamplin in the Stand Up and Shout compilation of his music. I did the history of John Schlitt, lead singer of Petra, in his history compilation. I also helped spearhead with the go-ahead from label head Bill from Roxx Productions to pursue the release of 2 great albums that were released on CD this year for the first time ever. And that was Damascus, a progressive rock band from the 80s into the early 90s. Fantastic music. I interviewed and worked with principal band member and songwriter Tom McCowan for that, and that resulted in a great 2 CD complete anthology of their music. I did an interview with him as well that it appears in the booklet of that particular release. And also I worked with Kerry Crafton, a renowned producer and instructor, and his band Follower, Into the Sun. And that was the one and only album this band put out, but this was like a super group of musicians that got together and they did this great album. One of the members, Brian Wooten, would go on to perform and play with Whiteheart, and great classic rock, so check that one out as well. So beyond the copy editing, how did I get into Christian music? Well, it really started in the 1970s with my father. My father was a pastor. I grew up in the church, and at one of his churches, he had opened up kind of like a coffee house in the basement, and so some bands came in there. So that was at a young age introduction to a band called, one of the bands that put out a little 45 RPM record was the Lighthouse Singers, and they were kind of like a more of a adult contemporary vocal group, kind of like the Second Chapter of Acts type outfit. They didn't do much more beyond that, but I remember having that record and playing it over and over again. It was just 2 songs on a 45 record, but I played them multiple times and really loved it. Beyond that, I really didn't know too much about Christian music. I didn't know all of these legacy artists in the 70s and all the music they were putting out at that time. I grew up listening to classic rock music from Deep Purple, Led Zeppelin, Kansas, Kiss, and that's the music I was listening to. So I didn't know about Christian music that was happening during that time concurrently, but I did have a couple other instances of intersections with it. One of them was I went to a church that featured a contemporary Christian band that were performing there, and the band I got to see that night was Found Free, and they were selling their album there that night called Transformation. This is my original copy I bought all the way back in the 1970s, and this particular album came out in about 1976. And it features members that actually go on to be in the band Bash in the Code, if you remember them, in the 80s. So I really got into this. It was more mellow kind of rock music. Not really rock, but pop music. But I was very intrigued by it, and I have it. And see, I still held on to it all these years. It's kind of hard to find right now. You can see it on Discogs. I don't know if there's any copies for sale there, but that was one intersection with the contemporary music that that happened for me. The second one was a person that I worked with at Wendy's, and when I was in high school, and she told me about a band, and she asked me, could she give me a copy of their album? And I said, sure. And this is what she gave me: Live Fireworks, which to this day, still probably one of my favorites in the history of contemporary Christian music. Live Fireworks was a rock band, and this I really loved because this was like more rocking, more kind of in the style of the things I was into and listening to in the 70s. And this featured Marty McCall, and Marty McCall, of course, would go on to be with First Call, the vocal group. And this is just a great album. This is a great band. This is a band that I wish there was a reissue of everything in their discography on CD. I think there's only one that I know of, their Up album, which was released under Marty McCall and Fireworks. That came out on CD in Japan. I do have that one. It was hard to find, but I have that one. But the earlier ones, I would love to see reissued, especially my favorite by them, which is their second album, Shatter the Darkness. In fact, the song Shatter the Darkness is probably in my top 10 most favorite Christian songs of all time. So that was an exposure to music that I had during that time. And but it didn't spur me on to really know or explore other Christian music that was out at the time. You know, I just enjoyed the album. So it wasn't really until the early 80s when I made a recommitment to the Lord, and I saw a segment on a TV show on an artist by the name of Mylon Lefevre. And I loved the testimony. I loved the music. They showed his music video for Stranger to Danger, and that came from this album, Brand New Start, which the very next day I went out and I bought this album in the Christian bookstore and absolutely loved it. And it inspired me to explore more Christian artists. So I really went full force into collecting Christian albums and cassettes at the time, and then later CDs, and started a whole collection. And I got so into the music. I've always been into music. So I got so into the music that because I'm a writer, I always was writing poetry and stories when I was growing up, and then later on, my full-time job now is a English teacher. So kind of an outgrowth of my love for the contemporary Christian music that I was experiencing. I got a newsletter started called Follow the Light Ministries, and that was inspired by a song on that particular Mylon album called The Light, where he says, come follow the light that shines out in the darkness. So I started Follow the Light Ministry, started a little newsletter with limited distribution, and eventually came into a little bit more a fancier magazine called Rock Tower newsletter. It's really more like a newsletter, and that came from "The Lord is my rock and my strong tower" from Psalm 18:2, and that went on for a little while. I interviewed some different bands there, and then from there, when that stopped, I still continued to listen to Christian music, still collected it, but I went on to do some freelance work, freelance writing for Doug Van Pelt in Heaven's Metal magazine. You can see his latest book is right there on my shelf, Rock Stars on God, Volume 3. And I did some interviews with bands and did some articles for the magazine. And just to show how things circle around and how God works, one of the bands that I interviewed for HM was Ultimatum, which features Scott Waters. And Scott Waters now is the layout editor for the 3 labels that I told you about. So we work closely together all the time, and he's become a really good friend. So you see how the Lord works in mysterious ways, and how he cycled us around. And I interviewed him back then about the time his band's Puppet of Destruction album was coming out, which is a great thrash metal classic. Then I also did some review writing for White Throne magazine, and then, kind of the things led up one thing after another. And then I got into the copy editing with these 3 record labels and got back into my passion for writing again with those labels. So that was kind of my journey. And, it's something I'm passionate about, and I've been thinking about starting this YouTube channel for a long time and praying about it, and I hope you enjoy it. And so join in on the discussion. I'd love to hear what you think. Give suggestions who you might want to see me cover in here. But I look forward to a great time of interacting with all of you. So please subscribe to the channel, like the videos, and follow it so that you can get new content. Like I said, there's going to be a lot more content coming in 2025, but I wanted to do this intro video, and like I said, look for the best of my top 10 best of releases for this year. So that's it for now. Remember to follow the light that shines out in the darkness. God bless everyone. See you.